What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. So look, we are a nice amount of days removed from the Terence Crawford versus Israil Madrimov fight. You still got people feeling like the fight was a draw. You got some people hollering out robbery, that Israil Madrimov really won that fight. I'm not of either of those groups. I feel that Terence Crawford won the fight because I felt like he landed the cleaner, more effective shots. He landed more shots than Israil Madrimov. And although Terence was patient and he wasn't just unloading and just letting his hands fly at will, Madrimov spent too many of his rounds just fainting without really taking advantage of the fact that Terence Crawford was being patient. I feel like he should have capitalized off that and threw more punches and done more effective work, especially to Terence Crawford's body, etc., right? But he didn't. So I had Terence Crawford winning the fight, especially with them last two rounds. But now the question remains, why did Terence Bud Crawford look much better against unified welterweight champion, 3-belt unified welterweight champion Errol Spence than he did against 11-fight Israil Madrimov, right? So I got several reasons for that. One, Israil Madrimov is a bigger, stronger guy than Errol Spence Jr., okay? Maybe, well, he had a strong amateur career, so I was going to say maybe he's fresher, but in some ways, he's fresher than Errol Spence. He's bigger, stronger. This is Terence Crawford's first fight at 154 pounds. Terence got to get acclimated to that weight class. And yeah, I think that Terence didn't account for the guy being as big and strong as he is. Madrimov sparred Bivol in preparation for Bivol fighting Canelo Alvarez, right? Bivol sparred Madrimov. He used him as a sparring partner in preparation for Canelo Alvarez. So that lets you know he's rough, he's rugged, he's strong, stronger than Errol Spence is, right? I'm gonna say this too. Madrimov is not a stationary target. Errol Spence is my boy. Y'all know this. I'm an Errol Spence fan on this channel. Y'all seen several Errol Spence fan videos from me really analyzing Errol Spence's fights. You've seen me say I'm an Errol Spence fan time and time again. Errol was much more of a stationary target than Israil Madrimov. Madrimov had great upper body movement. He was feinting a lot. A little bit, he was feinting too much without returning fire, in my opinion. But he was feinting a lot. Yeah, he just was not an easy guy to just, he was herky-jerky. He wasn't in one place at one time, just, wasn't stationary. Errol was much more stationary than Madrimov, and so Terence Crawford was able to time him much better. Again, also when I talk about the strength, Terence wasn't stronger than Madrimov. He was stronger than Errol Spence. And I knew that Errol could not outbox Terence. Now, I'm an Errol Spence fan that said the fight was 50-50. I never said Errol was going to destroy Terence or obliterate him. But I feel like Errol would win. But I picked Errol to win the fight, but I said it was 50-50. But I always knew that Errol could not outbox Terence. His best bet was to overwhelm Terence with physicality, with brute strength, with chopping shots, etc. But even in that fight with Errol, I saw that Errol was not stronger than Terence. When they got into the clinch and Terence pushed him back, like I don't know if it was the first or second round when that happened, I said, oh man, my boy in for a long fight. Then when I saw Errol couldn't stay out of the way of Terence's jab, I said, oh yeah. And so this is looking bad already. It's looking bad already. But yeah, those things, man. Like, yeah, Madrimov was stronger than Errol, bigger, and then he wasn't a stationary target. Another big reason why Terence Crawford performed better against Errol Spence, I feel like his heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit went into that fight. For years, you had a lot of people saying that Errol was way too big and strong for Terence to beat. You had people who are Errol Spence fans. Now, I'm an Errol Spence fan that didn't say this, but I can say there were Errol Spence fans that said that Terence was going to get obliterated, that he was going to get dominated, right? And so when Terence is hearing that, when Terence is hearing he's too small for Errol, this is Errol's weight class, you're not going to be able to be stronger than him or overwhelm him. Errol is a bigger, stronger guy. When he's hearing radio station hosts like Charlamagne the God pick Errol Spence over and over again and tell him to his face, I don't think you could beat Errol. When he's hearing, excuse me, when he's hearing certain YouTubers and certain fans on Twitter at him and say, yo, you're not ready for Errol. Errol gonna break you like he broke the other fighters that he fought. He gonna break you down. There's an extra motivation for Terence Crawford that isn't there against a guy like Madrimov, that isn't there against even a Sean Porter, right? Like, Sean looked much better than Errol did. But I believe Terence and Sean are friends. He never really wanted to hurt Sean like that. Even though he got the stoppage win, he didn't get that. Like, the fight was really close on the scorecards until he got that stoppage, until he dropped Sean twice, right? Against Madrimov, I think he wasn't really motivated to really hurt Madrimov. It's like he wanted to win to become, four division champion. But nah, he wanted to embarrass Errol Spence. For all of the years that people felt like Bud was ducking him or was scared of him, or people felt like, Errol was going to dominate him and batter him and bully him, that was in his psyche. You know what I mean? I think it went back to, some people might think I'm reaching, I think it went back to the days of his mama, Bud's own mama, paying people in the neighborhood to come whoop on Bud, right? And betting people, like telling people, y'all whoop on Bud, you whoop on Bud, I give you some money, right? And I think his mind reverted back to that. Like, yo, these dudes think I'm going to lose against this man. And I think that fight was, Terence was preparing for the Errol Spence fight for years, studying Errol closely, examining Errol's movements, his tendencies, everything, and was figuring out ways. Him and his team figured out a game plan to capitalize on defeating Errol Spence in a historic fashion. You know what I mean? So when you got a guy motivated like that, when a guy is like, listen, I'm out for blood, everybody feel like I'm going to lose against this dude, even though Terence was the favorite. Now, I'm going to say this. Terence was the favorite. It was a close favorite, but he was the favorite in the fight because a lot of the, boxing aficionados saw the difference in Errol's skill compared to Terence's skill. Now, I always said Terence was more skilled than Errol. Just as an Errol Spence fan, now I said Terence was more skilled, but I felt like Errol would still win due to his physicality, his strength, his tenacity, the way he keeps coming forward, and his overwhelming punch output and his power. I thought it would get the best of Terence at some point in that fight, but it did not. So yeah, I feel like Bud had extra motivation to beat Errol from pillar to post more than any opponent he's ever faced in his life outside of his first world title shot. Other than that first world title shot, Terence was more motivated to beat Errol more than any fight in his life. And Terence knew that was a legacy-defining fight for him. If he beats Errol Spence and become undisputed champion in 2 different weight classes, oh my God, you looked at as Goliath. You're no longer David, because people was looking at Errol like he was David because Errol was the bigger guy, and naturally he was at that weight for a longer time, and Terence moved up from 35 all the way to 47. And so in his mind, he like, yo, I'm going to defeat the giant people say I can't defeat, and I'm going to be at the top of the mountain. And he knew if he beat Errol, and he beat Errol in dominating fashion, like if he stopped Errol, like, yo, my name and my legacy gonna be cemented. Because I knew Terence Crawford had the goods, but I didn't know he had the goods like that. I didn't know it was like that. Like, man, he's a great fighter, but I didn't know he was generational until that fight. That fight showed me something different. He was generational because he dismantled everything Errol Spence was trying to do. Took away Errol's favorite weapon, his jab. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I think all of those things are why, that's why Bud looked better against Errol than Madrimov. You know what I'm saying? And then even when I say Errol's a stationary target, like as soon as Errol got dropped, I believe in that second round, Errol abandoned any game plan. It went straight to, let me step forward and let me try to hurt this man. Let me try to hurt this dude. You know what I mean? Let me try to hurt him. And honestly, being for real with y'all, that was Errol's best shot was to try to hurt Terence. because I knew he couldn't outbox. I knew he couldn't outbox Terence. I knew he really couldn't outbox him. I feel like he could overwhelm Terence with physicality, and he couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Madrimov was stronger, more physical. He was fainting more, upper body movement great, herky jerky. He wasn't stationary. So Bud and Bud couldn't tee off like that, and I think his strength caused Bud to be a little bit more reluctant to just let his hands fly and stand in the middle and trade with him, because I feel like Bud felt that this is a strong ass dude. I can't just be in here just unloading, and I think Bud could feel he was a little stronger than him, and so Bud didn't want to just. He was more patient. He was more cautious than anything, knowing, hey, this dude got some fire on him. He got strength to him, and he can hit me with something that might put me in a little bit of harm's way. So let me back up. Let me be a little bit more reserved at times and not just unleashing and unloading like he was against Errol. He knew Errol wasn't stronger than him in that clinch. You could tell. Once he dropped Errol, I think his confidence, Terence Crawford confidence, went even higher through the roof. Because at this point, he know I can hurt him. I can sit him down with a jab. I can hurt him because his jab was snapping. Terrence's jab was snapping. It wasn't even a light. It wasn't a touch. That mother was snapping on the jab. And he knew when he touched Errol with it, Errol felt every bit of it. You know what I'm saying? So, again, as accomplished as Errol Spence is, as tough and hard-nosed as he is, Terence was again, he game planned for Errol for years. He wanted, and he had an extra motivation to embarrass Errol more than he did for Madrimov. And then again, Madrimov was not stationary, stronger. He was stronger, bigger than Errol. Terence first time at the weight class. So I feel like those are the reasons why Terence Bud Crawford looked much better against Errol Spence than he did against Israil Madrimov. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, Machiavelli Mills TV. I'm out. Hey, listen, I'm still rocking with Errol Spence. That's still my dog to this day. Don't get it confused. But I can admit when my dog got beat from pillar to post. And when he got smoked. I can admit that. And he got smoked that night. In generational fashion. But Errol Spence still my dog. I'm still rooting for Errol Spence whenever he fight. And I'm still rooting for him. And I still rooting for him. I'm going to be talking about when he fight Sebastian Fundora. And I'm going to be rooting for my dog loudly and proudly, man. But anyway, Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.